Welcome to today's physics class. In the last class, we discussed about the Lorentz force. That is, when a charged particle is moving in a magnetic field, how the particle is experiencing a force. So we got the equation for that one, the Lorentz force. And due to the magnetic field, the force is given by QV cross B. So the force direction of the force is perpendicular to both the velocity and the magnetic field. So in the third direction, the direction can be obtained using the right hand rule. All those things we discussed. So that is for a single charge or a charged particle. Now, if you have a current carrying conductor which is kept in the magnetic field, how will be the force? How much will be the force? That's what we have to calculate. So if you have a current carrying conductor which is kept in the magnetic field, then this current carrying conductor is actually having a particular number of charge. So you can take it as a, for example, this is a current carrying conductor. So if it is kept in the magnetic field, how much force is experiencing on this one, or how much force it will experience, that depends on the amount of charge present over this conductor. The equation is same only, Q into V cross B only. But Q means the total charge in this one. So we can find out the total charge in this one. So you know the charge is due to the electron or whatever that charge carrier. Mostly when it is a conductor, it is a electron. Now here how many electrons will be there, that you have to find out. For that one, first you have to find out what is the length of this one, then what is the area of cross section. So you will get volume of this one. Then volume into n, small letter n. What is that? Number of charge carriers per unit volume. So first you take the volume of this one, then multiplied by number of charge carriers per unit volume. So there you will get the total number of charge carriers. Then multiply with the charge of that single particle, that is single electron, E or Q, whatever. So that will give you the total charge present in the conductor. Then use your normal equation. That is QVB, Q into V cross B you can take. Q into V cross B. So this Q will be the total charge which we just discussed now. Now the same thing we will write in the paper so that it will become clear for you. Go to the equation. Now consider a conductor of area of cross section A and length L. So you have a conductor with area of cross section A and length L. So this conductor is moving in a magnetic field. Now if you have such a conductor, then let n, that is a small letter n be the number of charge carriers per unit volume. Now you can see here electrons will be moving here. These electrons will be moving with a velocity Vd, which is the drift velocity. So Vd is the drift velocity, the electrons will be moving there now. Now, what is the force experienced by a charged particle when it is moving in a magnetic field? F is given by Q into V cross B. This was our equation. Now what is this Q? This Q is the charge. Now if we write the same equation for this conductor, how we can write? F is equal to, let the Q, we'll think about a Q. Q means the volume of this conductor, that is given by A into L, that is area into length will give volume of the conductor. Now n is the number of charge carriers per unit volume. So this much makes the total number of electrons or charge. Now multiplied with Q. Q is the charge of one electron or one whatever charge is there. That means, so this much makes this Q. So remaining is Vd, that is the drift velocity Vd cross B. So this is our full equation here. Now along with this one, we have another equation for current density J. J is given by N into Q into Vd, or we will write it as Ne into Vd also. This E means charge of electron. Here Q is the charge of charge carrier, that is electron itself. So now you see here, this equation is equal to N into Q or E, anything you can write, into Vd into AL cross B, like this we can write. Now you see here NQVD like that is coming. This NQVD is here already, that is J. So what we can write? F is equal to J. This J is a vector. You should remember this current density J is a vector. J into A into L. That is this much makes J, remaining A into L is here. This one cross B. This is very, very important. Now you see here, what is actually J? J is I by A. So what is J into A? That is I. So you can write F is equal to, this one is I. I is the current, I into L cross B. You can write like this because J into A is I. But one thing, very important point here, this I is the current. Current is not a vector quantity. Even though current is having a direction, electric current cannot be taken as a vector, because you don't think that it is having a direction, that's why we can take it as a vector quantity. We cannot take it because it is not obeying the vector algebra. The calculation, we are not taking it as a vector. Vector algebra, it will not obey, so it is not a vector. So when this I is not a vector, but we have to take a cross product here. That's why what we will do is, we will consider this length as a vector. Just like how we are taking area as a vector, we can take the length as a vector. So when we take length as a vector, in which direction the current is moving, that we will take as the direction of this one. So now our final equation is F is equal to I L cross B. So this is the equation for force acting on the conductor when it is fixed in the magnetic field. So in most of the cases, this cross product is there. So when it is already perpendicular, that sin theta will become 1. So this force is given by ILB, like this you will write. This cross product sin theta will become 1. So practically when you are using the equation will be like this, but the final equation is F is equal to I into L cross B. This L is the length, but we have to take it as a vector quantity. That is the most important thing here. So we discussed what will be the force acting on a conductor when it is kept in the magnetic field. Now we are going to the next level. That is, if you have a charged particle, if this charged particle is entering to a magnetic field, so when the charged particle is entering to the magnetic field, it will experience a force which is perpendicular to both the magnetic field direction and the direction of the velocity of the charged particle. Now, if such a force is acting on that one, in which way it will move, or what will be the path of the charged particle when a charged particle is entering to the magnetic field? If it is entering directly perpendicular to that one, what will be the path? Or if it is entering to the magnetic field with an angle, what will be the path? And after this one, we can draw that one, what is the path of that one. So before starting itself, I can tell you, when a charged particle is entering perpendicular to a magnetic field, then it will move in a circular path. So how it will move in a circular path? What is the reason? And how much will be the radius of that circle? And if it is not perpendicular, what will happen? Instead of circle, it will form a circle like this. Along with the circle, if it is having a velocity component toward the side also, it will go in a helical shape, or we can say just like a spring. It will move in the shape of a spring. A charged particle entering to a magnetic field. Perpendicular to the magnetic field means it will go in a circular path. And if it is moving with an angle, then it will go in a circular path. Along with that one, it will move toward the side also. So it will go like a spring. So we have to study these two things in detail. So once we will draw that one, and we have to discuss the other way also. That is, if it is a positive charge, what will happen? If it is a negative charge, what will happen? All these things we will discuss now. Let us consider a uniform magnetic field like this. What is the meaning of this magnetic field like this means? See here, if the magnetic field is toward this direction, we will draw arrow mark toward that direction. If it is this direction, we will draw like this. If it is into the paper, then this arrow mark you will see from the behind. So it will be crossed like this. So this cross says that the direction of the field is into the paper. If the arrow is coming out of the paper, then you can see one dot. So if you have so many dots like this, then the meaning is the field is coming from the paper towards you, towards the observer. When the cross is there, the meaning is the magnetic field is into the paper. So now this picture is magnetic field is into the plane of the paper. Now in such a case, if the magnetic field is into the plane of the paper, you think about a charged particle entering here. Let the charged particle is coming from here. It already reached here. Okay. So here we have a positively charged particle here with velocity in this direction. Now you have to think about the magnetic field here. The field is downward and the velocity v is in this direction. If v is this way and the field is then we can take the v cross b. V cross b will be like this. With right hand I am using v cross b will be like this. So my thumb is in that direction. So the force will be in this direction. So it will experience a force in this direction. So if it is moving like this and if it is experiencing a force like this, then its path will move like this. Once it is reaching here, again it is a positive charge. Then the velocity will be this way and the force will be again this way. So it will move in a path like this. From here the force will be like this. So finally it will move in a circular path. That is very, very important. So when a charged particle is entering to the magnetic field, the force will be toward this side. You have to use the right hand rule to find the v cross b direction to get the force. So you can see that everywhere the force will be toward the center. So it will go in a circular path. So the charged particle will move in a circular path. That is very, very important. When a charged particle is entering to a magnetic field perpendicular to it, then the charged particle will move in a circular path. Now let us think about this circular path. When it is moving in a circular path, if any object is moving in a circular path, it requires a centripetal force. So how much is the centripetal force Fc? It is given by mv square by r. We already know this one. Now here the centripetal force is provided by the magnetic force. The magnetic force that is given by qvb. So the centripetal force is provided by the magnetic force. So these two should be equal. That is mv square by r is equal to qvb. Or from this one, what is r? If you take rearrange, r is equal to mv by qb. This is very, very important. The radius of this path is given by the equation r is equal to mv by qb. What is this mv? It is a momentum. So the radius depends on the momentum. So there can be many questions based on this one. The radius depends on momentum and again charge also. If an alpha particle and a proton is entering to a magnetic field which will have higher radius, which will have lower radius, such questions can come. So you have to think about the momentum and you have to think about the charge also. Now if it is a positive charge or negative charge, what will happen? If positive charge is moving this way around, the negative charge will be moving this way around. That also you should remember. The direction of the circle will be different. And this is the equation. Very important comparison question, always it will come. Compare the radius or you draw the trajectory. So when you are drawing, you should remember that one, positive charge and negative charge, you have to draw to the opposite side. And here mv, the momentum is given. So you have to think about the momentum and the charge also is given. Sometimes instead of momentum, they will tell two charged particle of equal kinetic energy is coming. So instead of this momentum, they are discussing about the kinetic energy. So you have to use that k is equal to p square by 2m. This equation you have to take and you have to compare the momentum and put here. So all those things you have to do in the numerical problem. So now for time being, you remember that the radius is given by r is equal to mv by qb. Now if you take the frequency of this one or the time, if you take the frequency, the angular frequency of this rotation is given by omega, then what about velocity? V is given by omega into r or r omega. This one also we already studied. And this omega is again given by 2 pi nu. All these things I think you remember, that V is equal to omega into r and omega is equal to 2 pi nu. This nu is the frequency. Now how we can get this one here? You replace this value here. V is equal to omega into R. What is V from this equation? From this equation, if you take R is equal to mv by qb. So V is equal to qb into R by m. You will get like this. Okay. Now, what about omega now? Omega is equal to, what is omega here? Omega is given by V by R. So omega is this one divided by R. So it will be QB by M. That is very, very important. So omega is given by QB by M. This one is again equal to our 2 pi nu. This one also you had to use somewhere. So the angular frequency is given by QB by M. This result also is very, very important. That is, when a charged particle is moving in a circular path, the radius is given by the equation R is equal to mv by qb, and the angular frequency is given by omega is equal to qb by m. Now again this one is equal to 2 pi nu. So from this one we can find out what is nu here. So what is nu? From here 2 pi nu is equal to qb by m. So nu will be 1 by 2 pi into qb by m. So you will get like this. Now what about the time period? Time period will be opposite of this one. 1 by nu is equal to the time period. That also you will get. So that is also very, very important. So if you do this one, it's very simple calculation only. If you do like this, you will get the time period as its opposite. This is already given like this. So time period will be, what is coming in the denominator will come in the numerator. That is 2 pi m divided by qb. This will be the time period. So time period of rotation is given by 2 pi m divided by qb. Now once more we will discuss here up to here, then we will go front. Okay. So what we discussed is, when the charged particle is moving in a circular path, when the charged particle is coming to a magnetic field, it will experience a force. The direction of force is toward the center, so it will move in a circular path. And for moving in the circular path, it requires a centripetal force Fc, which is mv square by r, centripetal force, and that is provided by our magnetic field, the force due to magnetic field, which is qvb. If you equate this one, you will get the equation for radius. The radius is given by mv by qb. Now if you take the relation between velocity and our angular velocity, v is equal to omega r, equation is there, omega is there, is equal to 2 pi nu. This one you keep there, this one to use later. From this one we have r is equal to mv by qb, so v will be qbr by m. Now omega is equal to v by r, so this one by r means that r will get cancelled, so omega is given by qb by m. Now so omega can be written as qb by m, which is equal to 2 pi nu. So from this one, if you rearrange, you will get nu as this one, that is 1 by 2 pi qb by m. Now time period is 1 by frequency, so time period is given by 2 pi m by qb. So what is this time period? This time required for one complete rotation. That point is very important. This, what is the time period? When we go to the next part, it is very, very important. Now you see here, this much what we discussed is when the charged particle is entering to the magnetic field perpendicular to it. Now you see here, if it is not entering perpendicular to it, what will happen? For example, the textbook, that diagram is very interesting. See here, it's like this. This is direction is x-axis is along this side, and our magnetic field is also B is also along this axis, and we have the z axis here, and naturally y will be here. Now you see here, the charged particle is not entering exact perpendicular to that one. It is entering in a particular direction. For example, it is entering like this, V is this way. Now you see here, just this plane which is containing z and y. So if it is exactly coming parallel to that plane, that will be, if it is like this, this is the velocity perpendicular. This is the perpendicular component of velocity like this. Now, actually it is not entering perpendicular, it is entering in another direction v here. So this v can be resolved into two components, one along perpendicular and one along the parallel like this. Now here the important point is, previously when a charged particle is entering in the magnetic field, we know it is moving in a circular path like this. But here what happens is, here we have two velocity component. One velocity component along the magnetic field, because our magnetic field is this way. Our magnetic field is this way. So one is along the magnetic field and another one is not along the magnetic field, it is perpendicular to that one. So you know that if the charged particle is moving in the magnetic field parallel to the magnetic field, no effect will be there because we have a cross product there. If it is parallel, that sin theta will become 0. So the point is, this v perpendicular and v parallel is there. This parallel velocity component will not have any effect in this magnetic field. So what happens is, this velocity we are dividing into parallel and perpendicular component. This perpendicular component will take this one in a circular path. But when it is completing one circle, by that time this parallel will push little bit this side. So what happens is, this particle which was going like this, it will come like this to here and again it will move like this. So it will move in a helical shape, like a spring it will move. I think this is clear. That is, this velocity is having two components. This perpendicular component, as we studied in the last portion, this will take in a circular path. But by that time this parallel component will push this much. So in each circle, for one circle revolution, we calculate a time period t is required. So in that time period t, it will go one round. By that time, same time period, it will move this much distance. This is called as one pitch. You know the pitch of the screw gauge. When one rotation is completed, how much it will advance front, that is called as the pitch. So here also the same, we have the same pitch. In one rotation, this will move this much toward this side, that is called as pitch. So this circular motion is due to the perpendicular velocity and the parallel motion is due to the parallel component of velocity. Now how much will be this pitch, that we will discuss. So it is very simple, because you know the time period is given by t is equal to 2 pi m divided by qb. So this much time, this is the time period we already discussed. Now in this time, how much it will move toward this side, that only you have to check. For one revolution, the time required is this much. By that time, how much it will move toward this side? Just the time into velocity will give you the displacement in this direction. So this pitch will be given by velocity which is parallel to the magnetic field into the time period. So that pitch is given by 2 pi m v parallel divided by qb. This is the equation. It's very interesting. That is, the pitch is given by 2 pi m into v parallel divided by qb. So if you take the value of v parallel here, you can get it, how much it is moving here. So this point is very, very important. If it is not, if the charged particle is not entering perpendicular, it will move in a shape like a spring, in a, or you can say in a helical shape it will move. So when it is each round, when it is completing, it will take a time period. So if you multiply it with this velocity component parallel to this field, with that time period you will get the pitch. The pitch means in one circle how much it is moving from the previous position to this side, this distance. This is called as the pitch. I think you understood this one. If you are not clear, you watch this much part of the video once more, then it will be clear. So now we discussed, if a charged particle is entering to a magnetic field, how it will move. And if a charged particle is entering to electric field, it will also experience a force. Now we have to combine these two effects. That is, if you have a charged particle which is entering to a combined electric and magnetic field. If you have both electric field and magnetic field, and a charged particle is entering to that one, in which path it will move? That's a very important point. And this one, using this one, we have some instruments which is called as a velocity selector in mass spectrometer. If you studied in mass spectrometer and all, we are using it, and it is called as velocity selector. So in which way it will go and how it is related with the velocity selector, that's what we are going to discuss now. Velocity selector means it's a device which is used to select a particular velocity of a charged particle. That is, for example, you have alpha particle coming. If a beam of alpha particle is coming, you need a particular energy alpha particle. So energy of the alpha particle is half mv square. So we want to select that particular velocity. So we will make a particular arrangement. In that arrangement, what happens is, we will arrange the electric field and magnetic field in such a way that only the particular velocity which you need, that will go straight. If the velocity is more than that one, or if the velocity is less than that one, it will deviate up or down, so that you can select the particular velocity of the charged particle. You have to adjust the electric field and magnetic field according to that one. So how it works? How this velocity selector works, or how the combined electric and magnetic field will affect a charged particle moving in the field, that we will discuss. Let us think about a charged particle which is moving in the combined field. So the total force acting on the charged particle, as already we discussed, it will experience two force, that F is due to the electrostatic field or electric field, which is Fe, that is one force, and due to magnetic field another force Fb. And this total is already we written equation for this one, Q into E plus V cross B. This is the total, that is QE is one force, that is electric force, and QV cross B is the other one. So combined we can do like this. Now you see here, now I am going for the picture, then it will be clear for you. Let the charged particle moving in this direction, that is along x-axis with a velocity v, the charged particle is moving like this. Now our electric field is in this direction along y-axis. Our electric field is along this direction, y-axis, and our magnetic field is like this. So all are perpendicular now. This magnetic field is along z-axis. Okay, so once more for clarity I am telling, electric field is along EJ, that is along y-axis, and magnetic field is B, which is equal to BK, that is along the z-axis, and the velocity V is VI, that is along the x-axis. It's clear, this is all are in three different axes. Now the charged particle is here, it is moving in this direction. Now you see here, when the charged particle is moving like this, if your electric field E is upward, then the force due to electric field also will be upward. So we have Fe here. What is the meaning of Fe? Force due to electric field. There is a positive charge is here. Our electric field is upward, so it will get pushed towards that field. Simple. So if it is positive charge here, then the electric field also is in that direction, then it will get pushed there. Now our magnetic field is this way and our velocity is this way. So what will be the direction of our force? V cross B. If you take V cross B, you have to hold the hand like that, this V cross B like this. So you will get the force downward, FB will be downward. So force due to electrostatic field is upward and force due to magnetic field is down. But you should remember the magnetic field is not down, magnetic field is this way along Z axis, and the velocity is along our X axis, and the force due to magnetic field will be along the minus Y axis. If you use the right hand rule, you will get it. Now you see here, when you can make sure that this is going in a straight line, if the particle is moving in a straight line, its meaning is this force and this force is getting balanced. So what is the force due to the upward force? That is the electrostatic force, which is QE. And what is the downward force? That is the magnetic force, which is QVB. Now if these two are equal, QE is equal to QVB. Q and Q you cancel here, then what is V? V is equal to E by B. This is the most important equation. So the one charged particle which is moving straight here without bending, its velocity is given by E by B. So which velocity you want? According to that one, we can adjust the value of electric field and magnetic field so that the desired velocity particle, for example, if you have a hole here like this, the one which is having less and more velocity will go and hit here this wall. The correct one which is satisfying this condition will pass through this hole like this. So that we can use this one as a velocity selector. So this velocity selector is used in many instruments, just like mass spectrometer. In the case of mass spectrometer, you will study about that one in chemistry, I think. So there you will study how it works. So this is the equation for velocity selector. That is V is equal to E by B. By adjusting the value of electric field and B, that is magnetic field, you can select a particular velocity particle through this small gap. Remaining will go up or down. Remaining velocity will, the particle with remaining velocity will go up and down. So you can select a charged particle with a particular velocity. Velocity means we can select a particle with a particular kinetic energy. So in your textbook, one more topic is there about the cyclotron. That was also a very, very important topic. It was there up to the last year. Now, when the 30% of the syllabus was reduced due to this COVID-19, so this is removed. So that's why we will not discuss that one. For a academic interest, if you want to study that one, you can do it yourself from the textbook, or in YouTube you can get so much videos about the cyclotron. As it is not there in the CBSE syllabus, just now I am not discussing that.